These right here are all of my dahlia tubers that I have overwintering, and being the middle of January, I have not checked them yet. I'm a little bit worrying how they're going to be looking like, but I have to do this. I have to start waking up some of these tubers. I have to order more if I have some varieties that maybe didn't make it. So join me and let's suffer on this video together. I grow lots of dahlias here in central Indiana, and when I say lots of them, I mean lots for what a normal home gardener will grow. Last year was the biggest year for me as far as how many tubers I had. I had about 85 or so tubers, all of them in raised beds, some of them in containers. And in the fall, I dig them out because here in central Indiana, they will not make it outside if I leave them in the ground or in containers. So if I want to save the varieties, the tubers that I have to dig them out. I have to prepare them and store them for the winter. Now, my biggest challenge here where I live is not really a technique on what to use or how to store them. I have used vermiculite, I have used wood chips, I have used just a little bit of soil to keep the clumps, the tubers together. I feel like the technique is not where I fail, but the location. I don't really have a good room. I don't have a room that it's cold enough, but also not warm enough to keep these tubers during the winter months. I don't have a basement, and I do have a garage that is unheated, that is detached, and if I leave them there, they will just freeze to death. And I know this because I have tried in years before. So finding that sweet spot where to keep the tubers so that they don't wake up, but also they don't die, is the hard part for where I live. I have them all in this way. Let me show you. I divided the tubers last fall, and I use regular 1 gallon Ziploc bags to keep them separated by variety. Some varieties I had lots of tubers and I had to use 2, sometimes 3 bags, but most of the dahlias that I have, they just fit in one container like this, one little bag. I'm not going to go through all of the tubers, but I just want to show you a few. This one right here is Roxana Ashley. I need to use tray just so that I don't make a mess. And these are the tagging tape, flagging tape, I think that's what it's called, that I use for when I was digging the plants, just to make sure that I kept track of them. And I use very, very fine vermiculite. And I also use this vermiculite for topping my soil blocks or the pots where I'm going to be germinating the seeds. So when I order vermiculite, I order the big bag so that I have plenty for everything. Okay, these tubers do not look bad. Look at that. They feel nice and plump. I guess you could say that maybe they are a little bit wrinkly. Nothing bad. I am so not worried about these guys right now. Now I think that some that are like skinnier are going to struggle, but I find that this is also true for if you have the right space and whatnot. This is like so skinny, but I just wanted to try it and give it a try. Nice. This is a nice chunk. And when I was dividing these tubers, if I saw an eye, I will quickly, just divide that. But if I wasn't sure, I would just leave like a nice chunk with 2 or 3 tubers. That way, when I start waking them up, I can see. And so this doesn't, at least this variety doesn't look bad. I am okay with this variety. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this open a little bit because I feel like they could use a little bit of ventilation. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am going to show you a couple. And if you're wondering, when I was storing these guys, I left a little bit of the Ziploc bag just open like this. not completely open, but just a little bit, so they will have some sort of ventilation. And I have kept these guys inside my house. The rooms are definitely not cold. They're definitely in the 65, 70s. And this is how they're looking in the middle of January. Now we still have a ways to go before I can actually wake these guys up. And, oh no, Sugar Town. Some of these tubers, you can tell, they're definitely a little bit wrinkly and dry. I knew that I was going to have some that were not going to make it, and I think a lot of it has to do with how well the tubers are dry outside. Oh, look at this guy. This is beautiful. This is just beautiful. This gives me a lot of hope, knowing that I can just keep them inside. I don't have to worry about finding the right temperatures. And then at least a percentage of those tubers will make it. And I am okay with that. I am okay with losing some, but also maybe, you know, winning some. And I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay. This is Wine Eye Gel. This is the Jello variety. Look at this tuber. This is very, very nice. Okay, okay. This one has an eye here, right here, that is starting to show. And oh, I have two more on the other side. This is a beautiful, beautiful one. I might actually be able to divide these two, but it's too early for starting to think about that. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at that. This is definitely a little bit more skinny, but look at that eye right there. It's beautiful, beautiful. And again, I know that by keeping them here in this warm room, I will definitely lose some, and definitely the skinnier tubes will be the ones that are probably not going to make it, and I'm okay with that. So I am going to go through all of these bags. I am going to write down what varieties I have and how many tubers of each I have that I feel good right now, and then I'll decide which varieties I want to grab a couple of tubers to start waking them up this early to start taking cuttings. Now, some of you may be saying, wow, Roxana, that's like too early to be waking up these tubers. And again, I am not waking up these tubers so that they can start pushing, you know, grow so that I can have those guys ready to move outside. I am starting them early so they can start producing those sprouts, those shoots, so that I can cut those from the tuber and I can start making new plants. This is how many people that grow dahlias for their business, for selling tubers and cuttings, this is how they do it, and they do it early in the year because they have to wake up the tuber, first of all. And the tubers, depending what variety they are and how well they had been growing in the winter months indoors, they're going to be taking 3, 4, 5, or maybe even 6 weeks before you can start seeing signs of any growth. So if you think about it, if I have some tubers that are somewhat average, it will be the middle of February before I see some sprouts. Now those sprouts will have to grow about 2 to 3 inches before I can cut them and start new plants. So that's another 2 to 3 weeks. So that puts me maybe the middle of March. So those sprouts will need time to grow, to develop their own roots, to develop their own root system so they're good enough for me to plant outside. And that also takes time. So we're looking at middle of April, depending on the room temperatures, depending how well the roots are growing, depending how nice the tubers are waking up, it's going to just take times. So I definitely cannot just allow a little bit of time to start waking this up for cuttings. Now, I could just get the cuttings very, very small with a root or two on them and plant them straight into the ground. But I do want to make sure that I have a nice root system, a nice grown cutting before I plant it outside. So that's going to take a lot of time. What I'm going to do, I am going to take some time to go through all of this. Cornell bronze, I do not need any more cuttings. I have plenty to grow myself. I have plenty to grow some for the seedling sale. And yeah, Cornell bronze is like, the tubers are amazing. Amazing. They're so well kept. So if you're going to be here for the seedling sale this April, I am going to have plenty of Cornell bronze if everything goes all right. I mean, I have plenty. I have this whole bag full of them, and I already have a nice dozen here. So if you're thinking about starting your own cuttings, if you have 2 or 3 tubers of a variety that you have and you really want to have more of those plants, try them out. Try one of those tubers for cuttings. You may be able to double or triple the amount that you have. I am going to do this because I have plenty of space this year for dahlias. I am not going to grow sunflowers so that I can give the space for dahlias. So I definitely need all the tubers that I can get. Somehow my camera didn't record the part where I was showing you how I am going to be using a 10 by 20 tray to start a lot of tubers at once. The idea of using a big tray is simple. You basically want to just place the tubers in the middle of the soil, making sure that they have plenty of space, at least 3 or 4 inches in between. So when they're growing, they're pushing their own roots and they don't get too busy with each other. But the idea is to leave the ground uncovered with the tuber exposed to the air, just the same way that I'm about to show you with using the smaller containers. Now, if I only had a couple of tubers that I wanted to try and get cuttings from, I will use some sort of like 3-4 inch pot where I can just have some soil, and I will start them that way. This guy right here, kind of weird looking. But again, I will do the same thing and not bury this guy completely. Just enough so that the tuber feels that there is a way that the conditions are right for it to start pushing sprouts. Again, depending on the size of the tuber, like this guy will not fit in here, no way. But maybe if I have a container from the grocery store where I get my vegetables that already have draining holes, maybe I can use something like that for tubers that are like huge. This guy will be perfect here. And again, very minimum amount of water. The tubers do not need moist at this point. The little bit of moist that the soil has is plenty. They don't really have any roots that are going to absorb that water. But also don't forget to label your tubers. It is easy to think now when you're doing this that you're going to remember what variety went in the smaller containers and what varieties you have in the big trays. Do yourself a favor and label them. So I don't need any Cornell bronze. I don't need extras from those. This was just for showing you how I'm going to do the rest. I am going to go through all of my bags and see what conditions, how well they are, and see if I want to wake up a couple. If you have never tried taking your own cuttings from your own tubers, right now is the perfect time to be doing that. Check on your tubers as well if you haven't. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you enjoy watching this content, maybe today is the day. I will see you on the next.